is an enchanter that can buff up someone that he becomes a 1 vs 9 god. He just like let's say you have Lulu with Vayne or Lulu with Jinx or Tristana in the late game. Bum, 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 they just all die. Janna, overall, let's summarize. Wukong, I don't know why they decide to buff him. He is super fucking strong. Then we have Corki. I don't know why they're deciding to buff Corki. I guess they don't want to see APCs in the meta and competitive anymore. So they're just buffing him through the roof. So he's going to be broken in solo queue and broken in competitive. And everyone's going to spam Corki once more like icons again. Hey, what's up, guys? Hall of Fame Breaker is here, and yeah, that's how you start an introduction, by bragging with the flex. But yeah, basically what we are gonna do in today's video is we are gonna cover the tier list for patch 3.4b. We have a bunch of changes, a lot of buffs for champions that are already considered pretty strong. We have a few nerfs here and there, some adjustments, and item nerf for Liandry's Torment. If you guys didn't see the changes yet, I'm gonna blend it in here really quickly so you guys can check it out for yourself. Yeah, I've adjusted the tier list a bit because some people have been saying there are too many S+ tier champions, but that's how you get the broken clickbaits, guys. Too many broken champions. I mean, there are still, if we count all the champions that are considered S tier and S+ tier, there are so many good champions in solo queue. So it's kind of hard to differentiate between all these champions, which is actually S+ or who is actually just S tier. So I tried to move some champions down to S tier that I considered S+ tier. Hopefully you guys will then realize, okay, which champions are truly S+ tier. Remember, this is my personal opinion. I know there is the new website, rankedwildrift.com, which is based off the win rates from the Chinese servers. But remember, you guys have to consider, this is the average win rate. Average win rate across Diamond, Master, Grandmaster, Challenger. It doesn't count how good a champion is in the right hands at maximum potential. Champions that have high skill ceiling, they tend to have bad win rates. We have Lee Sin, Kha'Zix, Camille, Aurelia, etc. They all have bad win rates. It doesn't mean they are bad champions. It just means the average person is just it's gonna end on these champions. You guys know my opinion of Season 7. Or even Season 6 Grandmasters. Season 6 Grandmasters, Peakers, they play like Season 2 Emerald players. And Diamonds right now, you guys can already assume, okay, if a Grandmaster plays like an Emerald, how does a Diamond player play? They are probably a Gold player that got inflated by the system. So these average win rates don't mean too much. Like, yes, it's nice to see, it's nice to look at, but at the same time, there are so many good champions that have insanely low win rates because it's just the average win rate. I just want to explain it because some people will wonder, okay, hey, should we still listen to your tier list or should we just focus on the win rates from the Chinese server? Win rates are more accurate. Win rates are not necessarily that accurate because they have fucking Kale S+ tier. But yeah, I hope you guys will enjoy this video. Let's stop this introduction. I just wanted to explain. Remember, personal tier list, opinion, it's an orientation for you guys. Let's get started with the Baron Lane tier list. Okay, for the Baron Lane tier list, this is the updated tier list for patch 3.4b. We have some lovely changes. If you guys see the star mark right next to the champion icon, that means the champion received a change. They got buffed or nerfed. In this case, Gwen got a buff for the lane. For Baron Lane, she received a buff. She was already S+ tier. This makes her even better. She received a nerf for the jungle though. Riot doesn't want Gwen to be a jungler anymore. They are trying their best to keep nerfing her out of the jungle. I mean, we have, if you're following the European scene, there are so many Gwen jungles, and I think Riot just doesn't want Gwen to be a jungler anymore, so they just keep nerfing her till she's not playable in the jungle anymore. But yeah, Gwen, in my opinion, high sustain, tons of damage. She is really, really strong, and you guys should definitely abuse her. If you guys want to play an AP champion that has true damage, Gwen is immune, by the way. Pretty good. She only has a few matchups that can be tricky. I would say Jax, Fiora, Akali, Renekton, Riven. These are not the easiest matchups, but if you're a good Gwen, you can definitely still make it work. And in the end, her ultimate does way too much damage. Jax received a buff. They increased the base HP per level on Jax, making him even more tanky. I think he is in a position right now where he's considered one of the best Baron laners in the game right now. Insanely strong Baron laner, insanely good split pusher, tons. Like, he has one of the best scalings on the side lane as well. Becomes a monster that is almost unstoppable, especially with the Hullbreaker. There are not that many split pushers that can hold Jax in the late game. Maybe, sorry, maybe a good Fiora, maybe a Kali, but I think mostly Jax is just outscaling majority of the Baron laners. Wukong received the giga huge buff. Way more damage on the first ability and way more healing on top of that. It's actually crazy. I don't know why they decided to buff Wukong. I think he is in a position where he's insanely strong. He is in the laning phase. He has tons of sustain. He does a good chunk amount of damage. Then he has the sustain from Grasp, from the first ability, from Divine Thunderer, and then he has the ultimate in the teamfights, being super tanky and still doing tons of damage. Fiora, in my opinion, one of the best Baron laners as well. Insanely good duelist and very strong in the early game. Plus, it's like a truck. What was that? Okay, next one, Gragas. Gragas is a very... Gragas is a very strong Baron laner right now, super tanky, and provides... he's tanky and does a lot of damage as well, and provides a lot of playmaking potential. Jay is one of the most dominant early game laners, insanely good because of his melee and the range form. He can swap between those forms, and in general with Hullbreaker he's very hard to kill in the 1v1, and he just dominates the laning phase, and then in the later stage of the game he has tons of poking damage in those team fights. Renekton is probably one of the most balanced Baron laners in terms of what he can do in a game. He is in the early game a super strong laner, and then he is also a great duelist in general with the Blade of the Rune King. And then in teamfights he's also super tanky, and he has a stun, point and click stun, which is insane. Then Akali with the Rift Maker, with the Infinity Orb, with Conqueror, has been one of the best assassins in the game, both in the mid lane as well as in the Baron lane. I think she is super strong, especially if you know how to play this champion. She is definitely not the easiest champion to play. Darius finally received a buff. I think he's a strong S tier, but the problem about Darius are the type of compositions that are being played right now in Ranked. There are a lot of high mobility poke compositions with tons of crowd control, and Darius really struggles against those high mobility compositions because he will get kited against them. But overall, this is a lovely buff, gonna make him even better. Then Riven also received the slight buff, making her a little bit more tanky. She's a great duelist. I scaled her down because I think she struggles a lot in teamfights lately, and in the 1v1 she gets outscaled by a lot of champions. But in the end, Riven is still a very good champion if you can snowball and get a kill here and there in the early game. Zed is a very good juggernaut, super tanky, good playmaking potential, and good crowd control. Then Camille, I moved her down a bit. I think right now in this stage of the meta, there are a lot of side laners that are just stronger than her and outscale her, like Fiora, Jax, and Gwen. They are just all outscaling Camille. And also Akali has been a really like Akali, and then also Renekton. These picks have been really strong against Camille, in my opinion. And Camille just tends to struggle right now. I think it's because, I don't know, she is just not that strong in the early game. Like, she used to be one of those insane laning phase monsters that are just dominating the early game, but she feels like she's kind of lacking off and isn't that powerful anymore. Like, you really need the level 13 right now. And before that, you are... I mean, you still have the value with the ultimate, so she's still good with that. But she is not the best at what she's supposed to do, basically, in the Baron lane. Like, her purpose is either, okay, you can join teamfights using her for the ultimate, or you use her as a split pusher, but there are 3 other champions in the S plus tier that are better split pushers, and if you guys want something good in teamfights, hey, why don't you go Gragas, why don't you go Wukong, or why don't you go Renekton instead? These champions are just way better in teamfights than Camille. So that's why I'm putting her S tier for now. I think the first ability and the third ability are just so shit right now. It's really sad. Sion, in my opinion, pretty good tank, good frontline, good crowd control, is a decent split pusher as well, but he will struggle against a lot of those Divine Sunra split pushers and against champions that have true damage as well. I mean, he's still over a really solid champion. Same for Garen. Tanky champion with good amount of damage. But obviously he's gonna get outscaped by a lot of split pushers, and then he will struggle to hold them in the side lane. So there's the problem in the late game where you are kind of forced to hold the side lane, but you're not the greatest side lane clearer. You will struggle to clear the minion waves against a Hullbreaker Divine Sunra matchup. And then you can't really join teamfights, and your purpose is, okay, I wanna shove the wave in, and then I wanna join teamfights and be a great frontline, for example. Same applies for Malphite, same issues, but Malphite is obviously a great counter into AD compositions, plus his ultimate is very good in teamfights. Aurelia is a great duelist, she struggles into a lot of matchups, and she's a situational assassin that would struggle against certain team compositions, high mobility team compositions, or high crowd. I mean, she's honestly not that bad into high mobility compositions because she has so many dashes, but against, I guess, high crowd control compositions, so like Morgana is the meta right now, and Morgana is excellent at kiting. Like, if you get crowd controlled as Aurelia, you can't do shit in teamfights anymore. Like, if they have multiple crowd controls in teamfights, Aurelia will struggle so much, and she also already struggles against a lot of matchups in the Baron lane. It's a very high skill demanding champion if you want to pull her off in the Baron lane. Next one, Mr. Shen. I think he is pretty solid in the Baron lane, and obviously he has the value with the ultimate to join teamfights, and has the taunt for some nice playmaking. Yone got an adjustment. They nerfed him. They nerfed his base AD, but they gave him some more HP. So they try to. They are kind of lowering his damage, but at the same time they are giving him more tankiness. So I think he is a solid A tier. He can be pretty good. But I think he struggles against a lot of matchups, and he will struggle holding champions. I think he struggles holding champions that are super tanky and have Hullbreaker, and then also champions that are straight up better split pushers. I mean, the same reasoning will also apply to Yasuo. Yasuo can be very good in teamfights with his ultimate, a very high skill demanding champion if you wanna pull him off in the Baron lane, because there's some matchups that are super hard for him. I guess Jax, Darius, Renekton, Malphite, etc. Those are very hard matchups for Yasuo. Next one, Kassadin. Kassadin has been nerfed multiple times, but I think he's still pretty solid Baron laner. I think in the laning phase he survives against most champions pretty safely, and then he has the late game factor. If you don't punish him hard enough in the late game, Kassadin becomes a monster. Sorry. Next one is gonna be Diana. I think Diana is decent in the Baron lane overall and absolutely fantastic in teamfights with the ultimate. Next one, Tryndamere. Tryndamere kinda underrated. I think he's In the laning phase, he might not be the strongest and he might struggle against a few matchups, but with the ultimate and a few items, you can become a very strong duelist. Teemo, in my opinion, pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. He has a strong laning phase, hard lane body against a lot of melee matchups. They did nerf Liandry though, so I guess rushing Liandry first item not the greatest choice anymore on Teemo. But I mean, in my last video I showed you a Teemo build without Liandry, so it's still gonna work the same way. But yeah, I guess he's kind of squishy and he can be punished. So you need to make sure to play the aggressiveness correctly and respect the enemy jungler or any roams coming from the mid lane. Next one is gonna be Dr. Mundo. I think he is a decent duelist, great frontline, but doesn't provide too much crowd control. Next one, Jarvan, solid laner with great teamfight potential. Akshan, very good lane bully against melee matchups, but he can be camped and gets countered if the enemy jungler just hard camps him and then he can't do anything. Kinda relies on having a pure 1v1 lane. Cannon overall strong laning phase and very good teamfight potential. Olaf, I think the adjustments they made for Olaf make him slightly better in the Baron lane, because now you can spam your axes more, but at the same time they nerfed his passive, so the amount of attack speed you're getting from his passive is lowered. So you can take it either way, whether or not you think, okay, now I can spam more axes, I'm gonna be stronger level 1, but at the same time you will get less attack speed when you're low life. So I think he is still decent because he can be a good counter into tanky compositions or compositions that rely on crowd control for their peeling. Next one, Nasus. Nasus is a champion that I really don't like in solo queue because you tend to not have time or space to farm up before your allies are inting, and he also struggles against a lot of champions in the early game. Biggest problem, you probably won't have the time to farm up like you want to, and the impact you have in the game is very late into the game. Singed, I know Singed actually has a very high win rate in the Chinese or on the Chinese website, but I don't know. First of all, Liandry got a nerf. Secondly, I still don't like his early game. I think his early game is pretty weak, and he needs a lot of time to be impactful in teamfights because he needs items. He's pretty weak and he skates like a truck with items. But can you farm up? Can you farm up is the question. Can you? If you play against a strong laner, you will have problems. First of all, in the 1v1 and in the early game. Nautilus, a solid laner with decent crowd control and teamfights. Graves has been pretty weak in the current meta, and I don't think you have the space and time to farm up as much as Graves need. Vayne and Lucian, same explanation as Akshan, but weaker in the laning phase and easier to gank. Next one, Kayle. If you play Kayle, then you are griefing yourself in the Baron lane because most of the games you will go 0-3 within a few minutes, because if the enemy jungler is smart, he will just camp you, and Kayle is a free kill. Every single time you come to a Kayle lane, she is free kill. She's very easy to punish, she needs a shit ton amount of gold, and she needs the late game. Because until she needs minimum level 10 before she is anyway useful. Because without the level 10 passive, she is so weak, and she honestly needs level 15. She needs level 15 and she needs 4 items. And before that, you are useless pretty much. Occasionally, you can do a heal, or you can use your ultimate, but that's about it. I don't like Kayle in the Baron lane. I can see why she has a high win rate. Because these Diamond Clown games, Clown Fiesta games, somehow she goes 0-5, but after 20 minutes she goes 10-5. Because she is a monster in the late game. Because people just, I don't know, don't punish her hard enough maybe, or they don't end the game because it's a Clown Fiesta back and forth. But in high elo, if you play Kayle, You will go 0-3. No matter how well you play, if the enemy jungler wants to ruin your game, you get fucked. 100%. I've played her multiple times in the Baron lane. I've played her multiple times in the mid lane. And mid lane is the place where she probably does the best, because she has the most safe laning phase in comparison to the Baron lane, where she's just free kill over and over and over and over. And if she doesn't get punished, then the enemy jungler is just shit. Lucky you, I guess. Let's go to the jungle tier list. Let's go with the Baron lane tier list. Oh man, what I'm trolling. Let's go! Jungle tier list. Hey, Mr. Wukong. Sun God Wukong is broken! Broken. I don't know why they buffed his passive. They buffed the healing by a shit ton. A shit ton amount of healing. I don't know what they're thinking, because you still have the Divine Sandra, Death Dance, Triumph combo, and then the first ability. So much heal. I mean, I've been saying it all the time, Wukong, especially in the high elo with decent players. He's one of my favorite Legend Q junglers. Because if teammates follow up your engage, Wukong is godly. Wukong is just such a strong bruiser with tons of sustain and one of the best playmakings in team fights. He's just so tanky, has so much sustain and does so much damage. He's just overall a very solid package. Next one, two of my favorite junglers in the new season that I abuse to reach 81% win rate and master. Gragas jungle, I think he is a super strong and solid pick. In the early game, he might not be the strongest. I think he's still decent with a nice E-flash on top of the enemy. And then once he has like 2-3 items, he has great playmaking potential with E-flash, with the ultimate, and tons of poking damage. Overall, his one-shot potential and hard carrying potential is very good. Next one, Morgana. One of the best control farming mages in the game right now. I think the biggest issue, or the best advantage that Morgana provides for the team is the crowd control, the kiting potential. She has very good poke potential, then she has good kite potential with Q, with the ultimate. She has one of the fastest jungle clears, and she has very good objective control. So, if you guys want a solid, safe pick, Morgana's the way to go. And Morgana's a champion that can just farm so quickly. Just get 3k gold ahead of the enemy jungler by farming well. And then in teamfights, you just poke, play the teamfight slow, play a kite poking playstyle. You don't want to force something too hard. If you land a bind, boom, you get a free kill. And once you chunk them down low enough, or they want to commit for you, ultimate Zhonya's, and you're just winning super hard. Next one, Shyvana. Shyvana also one of my favorite junglers, especially I think in lower rank. She is a superstar, or should I say a super queen. Go slay. She just farms so well, and once you have, like, you don't need to gank necessarily. You don't need to gank. If you occasionally get a good counter gank in, that's more than fine. Focus on farming, focus on objective control, get some stacks going. Once you have your items, once you have the evolved, she is a super carry 1vs9 monster. Next one, Kha'Zix, Lee Sin. Two of the best assassins in the game with a high ganking, fast-paced. They just gank left and right. They are super strong in the early game. They can invade, they can one-shot. They are especially in lower ranks and in high elo. I mean, I think in lower ranks, if you're a good Kha'Zix and Lee Sin player, you can just hard carry 1vs9. And in high elo, they are also very good. I mean, if you think about what do pro junglers play, they always play Kha'Zix and Lee Sin, and they're just carrying from bronze to challenger on their own with these two champions. Another great assassin that I'm actually moving up, because there is a new level 5 jungle clear for Evelynn, optimized jungle clear, where you can finish level 5 in 139. In 139, you are level 5. And then you just go bot lane, you get the double kill, and then you just win the game, because Evelynn is just farming noobs left and right, because they don't know how to handle the invisibility. And right now we are playing, do we call it Summoner's Rift? We call it Inting Rift. We call it the Inting Rift. Wildrift Inting experience. Shit level. Dog shit level. I don't know how. I mean, if you're a good Evelynn player and you know how to play her, then she is probably one of the best solo queue piss dumpers, because she works. The worse the opponents are, the better Evelynn works with her invisibility / stealth. You just gang, kill, and then Infinity Orb, Death Cap, one shot. It's so disgusting, actually. Which junglers do I ban right now the most? I guess Lee Sin, Evelynn. These two junglers, I fucking hate them. Because Evelynn just farms my teammates. So, like, I don't know what's a nice comparison. I don't know. I don't have a good comparison. Maybe you can write in the comments a nice comparison on how Evelynn players is farming the bot lane, or farming players in general left. Even in high elo, Evelynn is so good right now, because high elo is so shit. That's why. Because I remember in season 2 there was a time where, or season 1, Evelynn was super broken and she got nerfed, but people knew how to play against Evelynn. They knew that you have to play safe. They don't fight right in front of the enemy turret, so Evelynn comes from behind and boom, double kill, and then she's like, Infinity Orb, baby. I don't know. It's just disgusting. Next one, Olaf. I think this is a nerf for Olaf in the jungle. Yes, cool, you have the Q, which cost less mana, but it doesn't matter. It's not like you were struggling with mana anyways. Also, I started with E into W and not with Q. I know some people like to go Olaf, Q start at blue buff, but how does the mana change the jungle clear speed? You have blue buff anyways. But remember, if you're low life, you get 40% less attack speed now. It was 1% and now it's 0.6. So you realize it's a 40% attack speed nerf on the passive in the early game, which will also lower his jungle clear speed and his early game skirmishes. So I'm just putting him bottom. By the way, this is not in an order. The whole tier list, between the one rank, there is no ranking order. So Wukong is not the best, by the way. It's just which champions are S+. But I think Olaf is probably... He's still absolutely piss-dumping low elos. I don't think it's gonna change anything. Next one, Echo. Why do I have Echo here? Echo didn't get... Oh, I think it's because I moved him down. I think it's because he's very slow-paced. He's pretty slow-paced, but he is very... I mean, I tried to move the some S+ champions down, and it hit Riven and Echo. Why? I think Echo is very slow-paced in the jungle. And people tend to int too quickly. He just doesn't farm as quickly. Yes, he scales like a truck, sure. But if you don't get any kills in the early game, you are so slow. In general, though, he is still a great jungler that has great one-shotting potential. Riven, I think she's pretty strong, but she struggles into a lot of compositions right now that have too much crowd control or too much mobility. So you kind of get kited. That's why I put her S tier. Next one, Xin Chao, Jarvan, they are very similar from the playstyle, same for Vi. I think I should bunch them up together, because they are bruisers that have decent ganks, they're good in teamfights as well, they have good crowd control to catch people, and in general they are pretty strong junglers. Next one is gonna be Nunu. Nunu is very similar to Lee Sin, minus the fact that, oh, Doom won the game. He inted and he won it. Oh my god. Nunu in general is very similar to Lee Sin, but minus the fact that you are a slow jungler in terms of jungle clear speed. Like, you wanna get some You want to get level 3 and then just spam gank, try to snowball, and then in teamfights you provide decent amount of crowd control and you're super tanky as well. Aurelia in the jungle is also pretty strong. In general, high skill ceiling, but good playmaking and 1 vs 9 carry potential. Jace in the jungle also pretty strong, does a lot of damage, has poking there potential as well, and his ganks aren't that bad. He can just poke and then jump on top of them. Diana is a very strong jungler in my opinion. There's a build that I want to try out more. It's Protect Enchantment, which can give a huge shield in teamfights. But I think Stas is better, by the way, because Don said to me, yeah, try it out, but I don't see. I think Stas is just way too solid. But yeah, Diana, in the early game, she's kind of slow. Like, she doesn't have the greatest jungle clear speed, but she has probably one of the best teamfight potentials with her ultimate. Fiora, very strong duelist in the jungle, does a lot of damage and can snowball super hard. Jax, pretty slow in the jungle in the early game, but has very good 1 vs 9 carry potential. Fizz, I think he has decent jungle clear speed. Before 2 items he's kinda weak, but the longer the game goes, the stronger he gets and the better his 1 vs 9 potential gets, and he is great at one-shotting people. Like, your ultimate can one-shot people in the late game. Nautilus, overall kinda slow pace, but very good ganks with his crowd control capabilities. Next one, Pantheon, super strong early game jungler, high fast paced jungle ganks, like he just spam ganks left and right, but he falls off like a truck in the later stages of the game. Wait, I feel like, did I? Okay, next one, Renekton. Overall very strong jungler in my opinion. I say very strong, but I put him 8 here. I think he is a strong jungler in general. He doesn't have a bad jungle clear speed, and his ganks are also not weak, because you can dash in, you stun them, you have a lot of damage, and you're also tanky in teamfights. So overall pretty solid. Rengar, I think he's solid. Kinda relies on snowballing a lot. I think in lower ranks he is pretty good, but in higher ranks there are a lot of compositions he will struggle right now. The meta just doesn't suit him, and he doesn't do as much damage as he used to do. Too many nerfs on Rengar. Rammus and Amumu, surprisingly, not that bad. I think Rammus can gank level 3 or level 2 early on, but he can also go for full clear right now. Both Amumu and Rammus full level 5 clear are actually not that bad. I think they get it done at like 145 or 150-ish. So they just have to rush level 5 and then try to gank bot lane and get the double kill there. Or counter gank there. And then in teamfights they're pretty solid as well. I said they are weak in the early skirmishes. I think they are still. But if you just try to always farm up level 5, double camp. You can double camp on both Rammus and Amumu, by the way. Doing Gromp and Blue Buff at the same time, and doing Raptors and Red at the same time. That's something that Morgana does. Evelyn can do it as well. Gragas can kinda do it on Blue Gromp, but I wouldn't recommend doing it at the first clear. But these two can do double camping pretty well. Next one is gonna be Gwen. Gwen received a lot of nerfs in the jungle, and I think her jungle clear speed, even before the nerfs, I already thought her jungle clear speed is pretty subpar. And now her jungle clear speed is gonna be so bad, because you won't get cooldown resets on the third ability anymore when you're hitting a monster. And they're also nerfing the passive once again. And the next one is gonna be Yone. They also nerfed Yone's damage in the jungle, and I think his jungle clear speed is kinda slow. Plus he needs a lot of items. Next one is gonna be Darius. I think you should just play him in Baron lane, honestly. When I put Darius in the jungle, I just played him for fun a few times and it worked out. Because Darius is very good at carrying games on his own. when you're facing melee compositions. Same problem I already explained earlier against kiting high mobility compositions with a lot of crowd control. And jungle clear speed is decent. I mean, jungle clear speed is decent. Ganks are also not that bad. I mean, it's pretty average. It's not that bad. Camille, I feel like Camille lately in the jungle, she isn't really good anymore. I wouldn't recommend playing Camille in the jungle because the jungle clear speed is so slow and you don't get the leash anymore. With a leash, I think she was fine because her jungle clear speed is gonna be okay. But now that no one leashes anymore, I think her jungle clear speed is so slow. And her third ability is so fucking bad in the jungle. It's so fucking bad. If you miss it once, you have the cooldown of 20 seconds on the third ability. And you can only gank when you have the ultimate up or they're super overextended. But let's say they're not super overextended. Without ultimate, your ganks are super shit and your jungle clear speed is just so slow. If you play against a high fast-paced jungler, you just fall behind so quickly. Let's say I'm playing against a Morgana. Morgana is gonna be level 5 at 145 or something. Or she has 7 camps done in 155. She can do the full jungle plus scuttle in 155. You know what Camille has done in 155? She has 4 camps done in 155. She's so fucking slow in comparison to other junglers right now. And then you just farm so slowly, and if you don't get a successful gank in the early game, you are so weak, and your jungle clear speed is just so fucking bad. I really don't like Camille jungle right now. Even Tryndamere is better. I swear to God, Tryndamere's jungle clear speed is better, but his ganks are bad. His ganks are fucking bad, and he needs a lot of items. Master Yi, very good in lower ranks. I think he is a piss dumper in lower ranks. Great 1vs9 potential, but he's very snowbally and flippy. One game you can be 10-0, the next game you can be 0-10. That's pretty much Master Yi right now. Especially if you play against compositions that have crowd control, they can fuck you up. Let's say you play against Alistar, Nautilus, Rammus taunts you, Alistar knocks you up, Nautilus uses ultimate on you, he can root you as well. You play against Morgana, she roots you, bam, what can you do? You can't do shit anymore. And you need a lot of items as well to make him work. Next one is gonna be Sinch. Sinch, kinda cheesy pick. I'm a Sinch jungle enjoyer, to be fair. I think his jungle play speed is not bad, by the way. Did you know you can do 5 camp clear on Sinch as well, and it's honestly not that bad. And his ganks are, he has insane ganks, guys. He has insane ganks. Sinch has insane ganks and he has insane scaling. So just go for the full level 5 clear, and then if you gank someone, it's a guaranteed kill. You have the soup that can deny any flashes and dashes, and then you have the third ability to fling people. So you run Smite Flash or Smite Ghost, you run to them, second ability, Flash E, boom. They can't escape, it's a free kill, guaranteed free kill. And then late game in team fights, Sinch is so fucking strong. He's super tanky, he does tons of damage, and he has insane pick potential. Honestly, I feel like Sinch is better than these junglers I'm putting right here. I think Sinch jungler is better than these. I need to learn the full level 5 kill on Sinch and then I try him again. I think his full level 5 kill is like 150. Which is not bad, or 155, which is really solid. And then he just ganks you. What can you do? You're not gonna survive a gank from Sinch. Shen, very slow jungle clear speed. Very slow jungle clear speed. And he can't farm up when you rely on your teammates. Guys, remember, don't play tanks in solo queue unless you are support, because you can't carry games. You can do good in a game, but if your teammates are bad, you are still gonna lose the game. But if you do good on a hyper carried champion, you will win the game. But if you do good on a tanky champion, it's not a guaranteed win. I mean, even if you play on a hyper assassin, it's not a guaranteed win. But the likelihood of you winning on a hyper carry assassin that is has better 1vs9 potential, even with bad teammates, is much higher than if you're playing a tank. Next one is gonna be Silent, same explanation, shit jungle clear speed. Next one, Set. I think decent jungle clear speed, not the greatest ganks, but still good value in team fights. Grace is dog shit. I really don't like Grace right now. Very slow jungle clear speed. And he needs a lot of items and super shit ganks as well. Let's go to mid lane. Mid lane! Hey! Akali, one of the best assassins in the game. I already explained it to you. One-shot potential through the roof. Same for Kassadin in the early game. Yes, his early game is just too safe. It's just too solid. You can't really punish a Kassadin. And Kassadin in the late game is one of the most disgusting champions in the game. It's one of my champions that I always ban because this champion is broken. It's broken. If you guys say it's not broken, you're stupid. Next one is gonna be Ahri. Ahri, in my opinion, great catch potential, great assassination potential, tons of mobility, solid mid laner. Next one, Diana, great duelist, great assassination potential, and very good in team fights. Next one, Katarina. Katarina is broken because she gets resets. And what does that mean? One reset to wipe them all. It's a GG, guys. If you're good Katarina in low ranks, you get one reset. They don't know how to cancel you. Even in my elo, I'm playing, people don't know how to cancel Katarina. So Katarina gets one reset. Boom! Everyone is dead. Katarina, abuser. Next one is Karma. Karma, tons of poking damage. Her ultimate is very good in team fights. Everyone is flipping around for dragons or objectives right now. So you press one ultimate, boom. And I mean, what makes her so strong? She has mobility, she has root, she has a shield, she has godly poking damage on a 4-second cooldown, and then she has an insane ultimate on a very low cooldown as well. Next one is gonna be Yasuo and Yone, the Wind Brothers. High skill ceiling champions. I think Yone is a little bit easier to pull off in solo queue because he has more mobility in team, or should I say easier mobility to use in team fights, because he can always press the E to just jump back. So he's a lot more safer than a Yasuo that has to commit harder. And the Yasuo combo to pull off is harder than the Yone combo. So Yone is more safe, but I think Yasuo is stronger in the early game. Plus, I mean, the Yone changes are an adjustment. It's not necessary. Next one is gonna be Aurelia. I wasn't sure if I still put it as plus tier. I think she is an amazing duelist and assassin and has insane hard carry potential in team fights. Pyke got buffed again. I guess because the average win rate is super low on him, but I think in the right hands, Pyke's playmaking potential and catch potential and roaming potential is super good. Gragas overall is super solid. Oh, guys, I made a mistake. Corki got buffed. Oh, S plus tier in the mid lane. Corki got buffed, guys. So Corki received huge buffs, tons of damage, and mana for free on top of that. Corki S plus, yes. I said right now, I played Corki twice, even before the buff, and I just piss stomped. He's very good. If you know how to use a package in teamfights, you have tons of damage, and package is insanely good in teamfights as well. Gragas, Galio, both are very good, solid mages, tons of poking damage, good playmaking potential, and Galio has the utility with the ultimate and the taunt as well. Akshan, one of the best laning phases in the game, very strong duelist, and skates like a truck, does tons of damage, has the revive as well, which can be very good in the late game. Fizz, strong assassin, good one-shot potential. Jace, very strong laner, good poking damage as well. And now Ziggs, Orianna, great control mages with tons of poking damage and great utility in teamfights as well. Sinch, very good champion in the early game in terms of skirmishes and catching people, and then the longer the game goes, the stronger he gets, and Sinch has, like I said, very good catch potential. Zed, strong assassin, great duelist, a lot of damage in teamfights as well. Twisted Fate, great catch potential, great snowballer with the global ultimate to roam around and catch people. Lucian, very strong lane, high mobility champion, tons of damage in teamfights. Fiora, Fiora mid lane has become, I mean, I used to have her in the mid lane, but I was like, no one plays her in the mid lane anymore. But people recently start playing Fiora in the mid lane a lot more. I think she's still a great duelist that can snowball. And overall, she wins a lot of matchups. And I think she is very good against like Yone, Yasuo, Aurelia, Akali, Diana. A lot of melee champions she is very good into. Next one, Vega. Vega is a solid late game scaling control mage, but in the early game he is pretty weak, plus his roaming potential is also subpar. Next one is gonna be Echo. Pretty weak in the early game, but very good in teamfights once he has like a few items. If you land a good ultimate or a good second ability, he can be very good in teamfights. Brand, kind of short range. No, doesn't have the greatest range, doesn't have mobility, doesn't have the greatest roaming capabilities in the early game, so I'm not a fan of him because of that, but he has tons of damage and decent amount of crowd control as well. Aurelion Sol pretty weak in the early game, great roamer though and great teamfight potential if you land a nice star to AoE stun people. Now Annie, in the early game also kind of weak, bad roaming potential, but has some pretty good teamfight potential with a good ultimate. Garen, solid laner overall, is highly picked and competitive, by the way. But in solo queue, I think overall he can be a decent frontliner that can soak up damage, and he counters a lot of melee matchups, or he does really well into a lot of melee matchups. Morgana, very weak in the early game, bad roamer, but overall good poke and kiting potential later on in the game. Doesn't have the greatest wave clear in comparison to other control mages, but overall her team fighting is solid. Pantheon very strong in the early game laning phase, but he falls off super hard in the late game. He has very good roaming potential with the ultimate though. Cannon in the early game, I think in the early game in the mid lane he struggles against a few poking mages, but overall he is decent. His jungle wave, his wave clear is okay, but his team fighting is pretty good with the ultimate. Lux actually, great poking damage, good catch potential, bad roamer in the early game, can be punished by a lot of assassins in the early game as well, but overall pretty solid. Seraphine, very weak in the early game, bad roamer as well, very easy to punish, and struggles against a lot of matchups and doesn't provide the same value as other control mages. Kayle, very weak in the early game, very fucking weak in the early game. Can't roam, she can't roam. If you roam, you die immediately. But she has one of the best scalings in the game. She can become a late game super god. Ashe has become pretty popular in the support role. She's also viable in the mid lane as a crowd control machine. Just try to clear the wave and then use the ultimates to make some plays happen. But that's about it, she can't really roam. Next one, ADC. So for ADC we have Corki, who received a huge buff. Tons of more damage on the third ability. Wait, what else, by the way? So, base mana per level got increased. Base HP per level got increased. Base armor per level got increased. The cooldown of the first ability got lowered. The Gatling gun attack damage ratio per 1 second got increased by 20%, and the cooldown got lowered by 2 seconds. So you guys can figure out, yes, Corki fucking broken. Especially if you're good at using package. He's very good in teamfights and he does tons of damage. Kai'Sa's buff is, I need to read to you guys the Kai'Sa changes, so you guys understand why I think I already consider her S+, but she is fucking broken. Let's read it out. First ability, attack damage ratio per missile increased by 5%. Ability power ratio per missile increased by 5%. Attack damage ratio on isolated champion increased by 10.1 blah blah blah, okay? Ability power ratio on isolated champion increased by 10%. Evolved attack damage ratio on isolated champions increased by 10% as well. And evolved ability power ratio on isolated champion got increased as well. So I feel like you could run a hybrid build, by the way. Hybrid build? Hybrid build? I know there used to be some hybrid builds as well. You know, hybrid build? But yeah, she's gonna do a lot more damage than beforehand. So I don't know why they even buff it. I think she was in a fine state. Next one, Vayne. A very strong late game monster. High mobility, tons of damage, true damage as well. I mean, this also applies for Lucian and Ezreal. High mobility, tons of damage. Ezreal kind of scaling though. In the early game, he might not be the strongest, but he has so much poking damage. He's very safe ADC. I think in comparison to Vayne and Lucian, he is more safe, way more safe in team fights, because he can always poke from far away. He's a very when it comes down to ADCs, when I'm filling, I'm always play Corki and Ezreal. Corki for his teamfight value and the mobility he has, and Ezreal for the safe self-peel that he has. Varus got also buffed, but I don't think I'm gonna put him as plus tier. He doesn't have the hyper carry potential. He's a very good poking champion, yes, but I don't think he has the same hyper carry potential as the other ADCs, because he lacks mobility in comparison. Samira received a nerf, so I'm putting her S tier right now. It's gonna make it easier to kill the Samira because she has less slow effect from the ultimate, and she gets less mobility from the ratings right now. So it's gonna be a lot easier for us to kill Samira, but I still think Samira is very strong. I just wanted to maybe differentiate between S plot and S. I think they are still very strong S tier. Varus, Saya, Caitlyn, and Samira are very strong S tier champions. Saya, great self-peel, tons of damage as well. Caitlyn, long range, super safe, consistent ADC champion. Jinx, a very strong hyper carry champion. So kind of weak in the early game, but if you get the reset later on in the stage of the game, you can just wipe the enemy team completely. Draven, one of the strongest early game ADCs in the game. High skill ceiling, I would say. In the right hands, S plus tier, potentially, but I think he's a solid S tier. Tristana, in the early game, I think if it was up to me, I would actually put Tristana stronger than Jinx right now. Because Tristana is stronger in the early game, and her late game is a fucking bomb. She just nukes everyone. It's just insane. If you get into the late game as Tristana, I think she is just so fucking strong. Misfortune received a nerf. Guys, no! They nerfed the ultimate, making her weaker. Early game, very strong champion, but she falls off in the later stages of the game. And also she lacks mobility in comparison to others. I've played Morgana recently. Why do I say Morgana? I've played Misfortune recently. She can be pretty good in teamfights, but at the same time, if you play against high engaging compositions or very strong engaging compositions like Rakan, Alistar, Yone, etc., positioning correctly with Misfortune is so hard if there's so many engagers on your ass. It's very hard, and she doesn't do the same amount of damage as the other champions, I would say, in the late game. Senna got buffed. Hey, they're making Senna ADC better. So I'm moving her up into A tier. But guys, remember, pick Senna into the right team composition. She is weak in the early game, but she becomes, the more stacks she has, the stronger she gets. I feel like she's more like a high control poking ADC, not like the insane I just run you down, I have tons of crit damage ADC. Do you guys get me? Do you guys get what I mean? She's like slowly consistent poking them, chunking them down, doing a lot of damage, have the bind there, have some mobility, heal your teammates, pretty lovely. She's not like, wait, you're all dead. Yes, she's like, Vayne is like, oh Jinx, you're all dead. Senna's a little bit different. Oh, Nessus. I guess Nessus A tier if you play her with Senna. Nessus Senna combination can be very good. AP slash tank Nessus, very good poking damage. Super strong composition or super strong duo Q. Jin in the early game, pretty strong, pretty good laning phase, but falls off. He falls off, guys. In the late game, he just doesn't do as much damage, and he lacks mobility. Next one is gonna be Ashe. She has some nice catch potential with the ultimate, but she lacks damage and mobility, in my opinion. Sorry. Karma, Lux, Orianna, Ziggs are pretty good APCs, doing tons of damage with just one item already. With just Ludens, they already do a lot of damage. Good control mages, but I think their playstyle fits more into competitive than solo queue. That's for A tier. Brand and Morgana are like the warm-up versions of Ziggs, Orianna. Yeah, less range and less damage. Pretty simple. Like Brand, I've seen someone in competitive try to play Brand lately, and he was playing against Tristana, and he just couldn't poke because he gets outranged completely. Unlucky, unlucky, buddy. Let's move on to support. Okay, for support, there are pretty much no changes in my opinion. Karma, in my opinion, still S+ tier, provides so much utility, very good self-carrying champion, does tons of damage, and tons of utility as well. Pyke got buffed, in my opinion, one of the best supporting playmakers, very good in the right hands, and good carry potential on his own as well. Yumi got buffed, so her pop and blob, the shielding lasts forever. But I mean, as long as it doesn't get broken, but you can pretty much jump around and give everyone a shield. Before a teamfight, you can just set up shields for everyone, pretty much. So that's pretty good, but I don't think I'm gonna put the S+ tier because her healing is so much worse than it used to be. Lux, very good carrying or carry support with nice peeling with the root if you can land it correctly. But make sure to consider your team comp and make sure to have a frontline if you want to play Lux support. Or you have if you have like Morgana Lux, then you probably don't need the frontline because you just can poke them out. Like, let's say you have Lux, Ezreal, Morgana jungle. You probably don't need a frontline because you can just poke and kite them. I feel like it's a playstyle that doesn't necessarily transition into solo queue too well because people will probably just get caught. But if you have like a frontline, Lux is very solid. Sorry. Dude, my allergy is kicking in. It's October, I have an allergy. I don't know, guys. Next one, Gragas. Gragas, I'm just gonna summarize quickly. Gragas, Thresh, Rakan, Alistar, Nautilus, very good playmaking support, with lots of core control, good roaming potential, good playmaking potential. Very good engaging support. If you wanna be a manly support, then you can go for these. If you guys, on the other hand, wait, this is wrong. I'm gonna move Jenna up. If you guys, on the other hand, love those girly supports, the eagle enchanting supports, very good peeling and crowd control, then you can go for Nami, you can go for Lulu, and you go for Jenna. Nami has the bubble, has the ultimate to catch people or to peel. A very good champion. Lulu is an enchanter that can buff up someone that he becomes a 1 vs 9 god. You just like let's say you have Lulu with Vayne or Lulu with Jinx or Tristana in the late game. Bum, 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 they just all die. Jenna with the Protect Enchant, I think, in my opinion, very fucking strong right now. Fun fact, I have a 90% win rate on Jenna in Legend Queue. I only played her in High Elo. I think in High Elo she's just so fucking good. Great laning phase with her poking, great crowd control, good peeling, tornado peeling, ultimate peeling, and the shield value she does give with Protect is broken. Like, you just make the bar completely full. Senna, a very situational champion. Remember, situational champion. Pick her into the right team comp, she can be a fantastic champion. Pick her into the wrong team comp, I'm gonna put report Senna player F tier, okay? if you pick, let's say, you are a smart Senna player. When do you pick Senna? If you have good frontline. If you pick here with Nessus, Galio, Gregas, can be good. You can also pick double ADC if you have like a tanky jungler or a tanky bruiser. But hey, you are probably the egoistical dogshit Senna player. That's gonna pick Senna with a double ADC, with an assassin jungler and the bruiser in the top lane. You're griefing yourself. That's why you're an Inter and you're hard stuck. I've said it. Someone has to say the truth, okay? Next one is gonna be Ashe. Ashe has become pretty popular as enchanting support with the amount of crowd control and playmaking she can provide with the ultimate on a 20-second cooldown. Leona, pretty solid engager, does provide decent amount of peeling and crowd control. Same applies for Galio and for Braum. But I feel like they are not as good as the ST engagers in my opinion. Galio is still very solid against AP compositions as well. And he has a taunt. Braum very good into poke compositions because of his shielding. Has the ultimate for peeling or engaging. Not that bad. Set also can be pretty good as I think the set in competitive is very good, but set in solo queue kinda tricky to make him work because he's not as tanky as the other champions. He can make some nice plays happen and then he can soak up a lot of damage with his second ability and then do tons of damage. Next one, Blitzcrank. It's a hit and miss, guys. It's a hit and miss. If you are, I mean, you need to land hooks. If you don't land hooks, you are pretty useless. Soraka is a very situational champion. I know she has the highest win rate on the Chinese website, but I think the main reason is she's just so easy to play. You press ultimate and you did your job already. You healed up your entire team. She provides a lot of healing value in team fights. You need to pick her into the right team composition with decent amount of frontline. Either the problem, Soraka doesn't provide any peeling. If you get hard engage on, like let's say, enemies have Jarvan Wukong, Rakan, Yasuo, or fucking Yone. You guys get the problem. Soraka doesn't. She can't peel. She can't fucking peel. She has no crowd control. She has silence. She can silence, but if they hard engage too quickly, Soraka can't react. She can't do anything. She can't help you out. She can't help you out. You need frontline as a Soraka to make her work. I mean, if you have a nice kiting compositions, maybe if you have like Morgana jungle, you have a Lux or something, okay. But I think best case you have like two frontlines and that have crowd control. Then Soraka shines. But a lot of times in solo queue, I think Soraka will struggle if you don't pick her into the right team composition. And if you pick her into a frontline composition, like or hard engaging composition without a frontline, then she will fucking struggle. That's why I just put her B tier, because she's a very situational champion, and I think a lot of people don't realize that they are like, see, oh, she has the highest win rate, I must play her, and then they are just griefing. They are griefing me. I'm the one who's receiving the fucking inters. Then I'm the one who's receiving the Soraka without a frontline, and then we're just losing the game. I am the one who will get fucked by this. So stop player in the wrong compositions. Play in the right compositions, no problem. No problem. Don't play her if you don't have any tanks. I think it just sucks. Annie, a super cheesy pick. Pretty shit though. Sona, Seraphine. They are like Walmart versions of the other enchanters. Just don't play them. I don't think they're that good as supports. They're pretty weak. Bad peeling. Bad peeling as well. I mean, if you land a nice Seraphine ultimate, why not? Can be okay. Or nice Sona ultimate, can be okay. But overall, in the early game, pretty weak. Doesn't provide that much peeling factor. But if you have good frontline, they can work. They can work. I'm not saying they are complete dog shit. I'm saying they can work into some compositions. But overall, they are pretty supper. They're kind of average. Next one is gonna be Shen. Shen, I don't know. I don't feel him. I don't feel him as a support. He's a very cheesy pick with his taunt. He's pretty weak without items as well. And as a support, you don't have that much items as well. Cinch, super cheesy pick. Overall, not that good as a support. Morgana as a support, not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it. Very weak in the early game and doesn't provide as much peeling or utility value as other enchanters. But yeah, that's great for the tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Overall, let's summarize. Wukong, I don't know why they decide to buff him. He is super fucking strong. Then we have Corki. I don't know why they're deciding to buff Corki. I guess they don't want to see APCs in the meta and competitive anymore. So they're just buffing him through the roof. So he's going to be broken in solo queue and broken in competitive. And everyone's going to spam Corki once more like icons again. Nice. Hey, nice to see. Right, nice to see. And Gwen receiving another buff for the Baron lane. You get even more, how do you say it, cooldown reduction when you hit the third ability, or the refund value is gonna be more in the Baron lane as well. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like, make sure to subscribe, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and leave some feedback down below in the comments, what you will change and what you like, etc. And see you next time. Bye-bye.
Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush.